local government autonomy and the right to health and education. So I will now present the media briefing. My name is Onyekpere, the Director of Center for Social Justice, on behalf of the group. As you can see, we've shared out the text of the briefing, and you don't necessarily have to run through it, but to highlight some of the key points. This is a very opportune time for Nigerians to engage those they place in positions of authority, especially as the 2015 elections in February is drawing very close. We need to ask questions about what they've done with the mandate that we were given 4 years ago, and also ask them what they intend to do in the next couple of years if they are ultimately given power. So it's time for change, from bad to good, from mediocrity to excellence, from insensitive leadership to caring and compassionate one, from a leadership without vision to one that has been groping in that, to one that has been groping in the dark, to a leadership with clues and with a vision of a new Nigeria where our challenges, existential challenges, can be resolved. Nigeria has 768 local governments and 6 area councils. And the 1999 Constitution guarantees us local governments by democratically elected means. And this includes a legislative and an executive arm of the local council. But that tier of government, if we must tell ourselves the truth, has never known the truth and has been subjected to all kinds of abuse, experimentation, and degradation since 1999. In many states, local government councils are not elected. They are run by caretaker committees appointed by the governor. And where local government elections have been held, they've been abused and manipulated by state governments using the instrument of state independent electoral commissions. As the ruling party in each state declares itself the winner of all its seats. Where an opposition party wins or the victory of the ruling party is challenged, incumbent governors set up sham election tribunals that do the will of its appointers. Whether it's a caretaker committee or a purported election, the will of the people have been subverted. State houses of assembly made laws limiting the tenure of local government councils and tenures ranging between 2 to 3 years. In many instances, the local government councils are dissolved before the end of their tenure. All this happened just to please the demigods and their minions that run administrations at the state level. Since 1999, each of the 6 state local government councils and 6 area councils have received not less than 30 billion naira from the federation account. This is over 23.220 trillion accruing to all the local government councils across the federation. Yes, received is used in quotes because the bulk of the money never got to the local government councils. It was hijacked by state governments through the state joint local government account. There is practically nothing to show for these huge funds collected by state governments on behalf of the local government councils. Poverty is increasing at the local level, and our people have been denied access to basic necessities of life, such as potable water, functional schools, primary healthcare services, electricity, feeder roads, etc. If 30 billion or even half of it had been invested in every local government, poverty would have been a thing of the past in Nigeria, or at least significantly reduced. Local government chairpersons and councillors are paid salaries, but are rendered redundant by the state government, and their duties in Schedule 4 of the Constitution are left unattended. The duties of the local government councils listed in Schedule 4 of the Constitution include establishment, maintenance, and regulation of slaughterhouses and slabs, markets, motor parks, and public conveniences, construction and maintenance of roads, streets, street lighting, drains, and other public highways, parks, gardens, open spaces, and public facilities, sewage and refuse disposal. It also includes control and regulation of outdoor advertising and hoarding, movement and keeping of pets, shops, kiosks, restaurants, bakeries, and other places for the sale of food to the public, laundries, licensing, regulation and control of the sale of liquor. It further includes establishment and maintenance of cemeteries, burial grounds, and homes for the destitute and the infirm. This is not the way of democracy. We cannot allow this to continue. Following consultations with the Nigerian people in all of the federal constituencies, The National Assembly has proposed the following amendments to the 1999 Constitution on local government councils. 1. Direct funding of local government councils from the Federation account and cancellation of state local government joint accounts. 2. Local government councils have been officially recognized as a tier of government. 3. INEC will now organize all local government elections with abolition of the state independent electoral commissions. Others are the provision for 4-year tenure for local government councils, stoppage of allocation from the Federation account or state government to an unelected or caretaker local government council, and non-recognition of such local government councils as a council properly so-called under the Constitution or any law for the time being in force. Finally, the local government executive and legislature have been firmly established with the power to determine the general policy direction and implementation in the council without undue interference from the state. There are some other good recommendations for amendment of the Constitution taken by the National Assembly. They include 2 important components of the right to life and livelihoods, which have been made justiciable and promoted to fundamental rights by the National Assembly amendments. There is the inclusion of the rights to free basic education and free primary and maternal health care services as fundamental rights in Chapter 4 of the Constitution. Surprisingly, civil society and the larger population, human rights and women's rights activists seem to have glossed over this development and may continue to sleep while state houses of assembly will be at liberty to reject the provisions. But the time is now for intense lobbying, engagement, dialogue, and interaction to see that these rights are made justiciable. Their elevation to fundamental rights means that they have been removed from mere unenforceable pious aspirations of state policy to definite rights that can be claimed from state agencies and non-state actors in certain circumstances. And where the claim is refused, a cause of action arises which anchors a claim in court for its enforcement. I wish to remind you that Nigeria is under obligation to use the maximum of available resources for the progressive realization of the right to health. This obligation is encapsulated in national and international standards. The right to health is an integral and indispensable aspect of the right to life. For without good health, the right to life may be extinguished. Primary health care is that basic health care required to attend to basic necessities, to basic diseases, and epidemiological conditions, including effective environmental health interventions. Primary and maternal health care, including newborn and child health, is a component of the right to health that Nigeria has underperformed in over the years, leading to high infant and maternal morbidity and mortality rates, high under 5 mortality and high morbidity rates. Nigeria has one of the highest rates of maternal and child mortality and morbidity in the world. According to World Health Statistics 2014, our immunization coverage is poor, and improvements in the sector have not been sustainable. As of 2012, immunization coverage for 1-year-olds is 42% for measles, 41% and 10% for DTP3, HEVP-B3, and HIV-3 respectively. Nigeria's infant mortality rate dropped from 126 per 1,000 live births in 1990 to 112 per 1,000 live births in 2000, and lowered to 78 per 1,000 live births in 2012. Within the period, African figures on infant mortality per 1,000 births was comparatively lower, from 105 over 1,000 live births in 2013 per 1,000 live births in 1990 to 124 per 1,000 live births in 2012. So Nigeria's statistics is poorer than the African average. Nigeria's maternal mortality rate was 1,200 per 100,000 live births in 1990, 950 per 100,000 live births in 2000, and an improvement to 560 per 100,000 live births in 2013. This is far higher than the numbers of peer countries. Essentially, our health indicators on maternal, newborn, and child health do not match our resource profile. Countries with lower resource profiles are doing far better than we are doing. On the best right to basic education, despite the provisions of the Universal Basic Education Act and the Child Rights Act, Nigeria contributes over 1/5 of school children out of school children in the world. The learning outcomes are poor, school infrastructure is in decay, and there is a general environment unconducive to learning. Basic education is the foundation, the fulcrum upon which other tiers of education revolve. Once the foundation is poor, the society cannot build on it. For us to produce quality graduates, innovators, and thinkers, we must get our basic education system right. There can be no better time than now to secure the commitment of all levels of government to address these health and education challenges through constitutional amendments. The approval and implementation of these provisions will remove this shame from Nigeria and elevate our standard of living, productivity, and contribution to the good of human civilization. But the big challenge for local government autonomy is that we need at least 24 state houses of assembly voting in support of the National Assembly's position for this to become part of the Constitution. An amendment of the Fundamental Rights Chapter, I understand, requires about 4/5 majority for it to pass through of the state houses of assembly. However, the 36 state governors, whether of the Jonathan or the Rotimi Amechi factions of the Governors Forum, are reported to have vowed to resist local government council autonomy through the state houses of assembly. This is a real threat, considering that state governors are powerful men who virtually control proceedings in the state houses of assembly. Hardly is there a state where the governor did not influence the choice of the speaker and the principal officers of the House of Assembly. In the state conferences, the governors want more poverty for our people, more children to be out of school, more pregnant women dying during childbirth, more Nigerians dying of waterborne diseases, malaria, typhoid, and all these preventable circumstances. What then is our duty as Nigerians, the depositories of power, the ultimate sovereigns, when the Constitution states that sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government through this Constitution derives all these powers and authority? The governors owe their power to us as our agents and servants, and the servant can never be greater than his master. The wish of the servant can never triumph over the declared interest of the master. Otherwise, the master must relieve the servant of his duties. We must therefore reaffirm our rights and resist what we consider to be the evil plus of the governors. Nigerians should therefore join the struggle for autonomous local government councils. We are suggesting the following action points: sign petitions in support of the autonomy of local government councils, join mass rallies in support of the autonomy, send grant autonomy to local government councils as text message to the members of their state house of assembly and state governors, engage members of the state house of assembly in their various constituencies individually and ask them to endorse local government autonomy. We can also use the conventional media, that's why we are calling you here today, the social media including Twitter and Facebook for dialogue and discussions. On a final note, an appeal goes out to members of the state houses of assembly. Vote for local government autonomy and be counted on the side of the Nigerian people. Local government autonomy, rights to education, and primary health care for those of them in the state houses of assembly is an opportunity for them to make history. We should also use the same strategies to ensure that these rights are elevated to Chapter 4 rights in the Constitution. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to this media briefing, and may God continue to bless Nigeria and bless you all. So the floor will be open for your questions and comments. Well, basically, let me also try to run you through this about 15-page document. I'm sure every one of you got a copy of it. If you haven't gotten a copy, it's not this.